Still learning, because you do get, when you learn techniques or you're in a particular profession, you can get quite complacent with it. You carry on, and then things change, people change, society changes, and you're not part of what's going on anymore, and you feel like your techniques need to adapt with that. So you have to always have that beginner's mind, don't you, to keep yourself going.
Every day I learn. My aunt, when I qualified, was delightful. She said, "Now remember, dear," she said, "that you're only ever about one step ahead of your students." And then she'd wink and she went, "And that's only on a good day. You're usually one step behind." And she was a very wise lady, and I learn a great deal from my students.
That's such a great statement. That is so true, because that you're teaching them their skills, and when you've taught them everything you know, then you're the same as them, aren't they? You need to.
I go on and on learning, and I go on learning because life, funnily enough, goes on stimulating me every nanosecond of the day, and I can just switch off from it and not learn. But I just love it so much. So I just go on learning every single day. I learn something new, if not more than one thing, and that's an absolute joy.
Oh, excellent. So we're at your house, and it's really lovely, and I'd like to have it myself. I don't want to go home, but obviously the location is key. Why did you choose here, and what made you? Well, it's obviously why you fell in love with the place, but why this part of Cornwall?
This is Treehouse, and it's equidistant between Falmouth, Redroof and Helston, about 12 miles west of Truro.
Central, really.
So it's really, really central, middle of nowhere, middle of everywhere. Nice little small hamlet surrounded by countryside, but easy to get to. And I just always wanted a space with a big open space to work in, because I like to work with groups as well. And to be able to do full movement, to walk, and to work with everyday activities. So if I just had a simple room with nothing in it to teach in, or to be in a tiny space. Whereas here we can go to the dishwasher and look at how we might use ourselves when we're loading the dishes, or make a cup of coffee.
So everyday
use the kettle. Everyday things, which is where Alexandra is applied in everyday life.
Obviously, with any profession, you have to have some level of passion for it, and you have to have an enjoyment to do it, and you have to feel like you're helping other people. But there must have been something that made it more important and made you want to learn about it, because to know that about someone's body and to be able to feel that, that's a lot of work, that's a lot of training, and you always, people that are passionate about particular things will always push to the end, and they'll always be the best they can be, and they'll always give the best service. So what kind of drove that around for you? How did that happen?
Back in 1979, 1980, I was basically seeing the osteopath 3 times a week and on 8 painkillers a day.
To do with your bones?
Because my neck was so bad, my neck into my shoulder, and the headaches were just phenomenal. And I couldn't move my head from left to right. I was really quite dangerous driving. And my jaw had moved, and my shoulder had dropped, and I was in really strange shape. And this was because years and years of not being very academic, but being in a school where only 5 people got excellent for posture, and I was going to get excellent for posture. So I worked really hard. And then I danced on that. And then I tried to pirouette on that. And when you pirouette, you point, and then you whip your head round at the top to see, And of course it was hopeless. And it got worse and worse, and one day after class, I just couldn't move. And that's when I started all this treatment. And they were talking about actually not fusing my spine, but injecting all the ligaments in the spine with stuff to create scar tissue. And then my aunt visited from Canada, and she said, "You need the Alexandra technique." And I said, "What on earth's that?" And she said, "Well, the osteopath can keep putting your bones back in place, but the habits you've got in your body will keep pulling them out again. So you need an Alexandra teacher to show you what those habits are and show you how to release them, and then the bones will stay where they're put and it won't hurt anymore." It's literally what she said. And I thought, that is makes total sense to me, because I tend to be a practical, my dad was an engineer, that sort of thing, how things work. So she sent me a cheque from Canada, and I began my lessons.
That's really
and it was terrific. That was early 1980. And indeed, quite quickly, the pain began to abate, until I did what I like to do. Lift my chest, pull my head back, do all sorts of stuff that felt familiar. But as I learned to not do that, it got better and better. And I thought, well, I want to teach this. It just made sense. So I applied to join the 3-year full-time training course. And I started that in London in September, October 1980. And I qualified and began to teach. And then I qualified to learn to teach. I qualified to learn, to go on learning. I have gone on learning. Because one of, I think, the main things to me that I began to take on with this work was slightly akin to how we were saying about the ME. That I tend to be somebody who has a Catherine Wheel mind. I'm a creative person. I don't have a linear mind at all. So I can get very scattered and quite anxious. And Alexander has been the thing that has really been able to give me stability, give me steadiness. And I look back now and I think goodness only knows. And the ability to not what I call physicalise all this. So this lovely big space, which is 21 feet by 35 reverse level open plan living with glass either end, is a pretty nice space, and it's made out of straw bales and sheep's wool. So it's very eco and very warm. And I just always wanted a place like this. Never dreamt I'd have one, but I could see it in my mind's eye from when I trained back in the 80s. And gradually things must have occurred. And although I didn't have the house built, it was built by my neighbour. I'm the first to live in it. And it is lovely, and it runs along the Mary line. There's the Michael and Mary energy lines in Cornwall that run from very near Land's End, Carnley Bowl, up to Hopton in Norfolk. And this is on the energy of the Mary line, which is very nurturing, very nourishing, very safe. And it was incredibly important to me always to have a place where people felt safe, felt they could come and learn and explore and experiment. If you're going to release old stuff, if you're going to, as in the old fixings and holdings, that one we talked about, because if you've been like this since childhood because life was a bit scary, then you need to feel somewhere safe, I think.
You can lose control almost, just let go and release.
Because you feel nurtured, you feel held in a safe space. It's not that it's in itself terrifying, but this place seems to nurture people's change.
You definitely feel, I just can't explain the feeling, you just feel great, you feel warm and happy, and it's just calm, and it's just a really beautiful house and a really beautiful space, and you can tell the energy that's built up from different students being here, from yourself being here. It's just full of that, and it's just a really welcoming space. So thank you. Thank you for letting me come and be part of it. So
I'd like to have you here, and maybe you'll be able to walk in the stone circle and the labyrinth afterwards.
Yes, I've seen the stone circle and the labyrinth over there. So
got it all here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much.